Hey guys, Luxker here, and Shifted Pyro. We're here to talk about the many issues of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. I cannot wait to talk to you about it because, man, I've been really trying to even talk about the myriad of issues that Xenoblade X has. But how are you doing, man?
I'm doing quite well. Yeah, the Xenoblade X, the Switch 2 Edition, sucks. It's not good. It's just not good. It's far below Monolith's quality pedigree, and it's just disappointing. And I hope they can take this and don't apply it to any future Switch 2 editions, because if I see this type of quality with a Xenoblade 2 Switch 2 edition, it's not going to be pretty.
Also, Pyro, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Where's the Xenoblade X Definitive Edition Nintendo Switch 2 Edition patch?
I wonder.
Yeah. Very serious question here. We're like 2 months from the physical edition and there's still no patch. Like I'm still waiting for it, man. Like, people have been getting refunds for this game because they know how bad the visuals are. Like, Nintendo normally doesn't do this stuff. Like, they don't do refunds for their games, so they know that Monolith screwed up poorly here. We're gonna get right into that in this edition of Xeno News, bi-yearly news series where we talk about Xenogears, Xenosaga, and the Xenoblade games. And for the Xenoblade side, it's going downhill from there because Xenoblade X Switch 2 Edition just released back in February digitally and physically in April. Now let me go and talk about the good stuff in the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition compared to the original Switch 1 Edition. The first thing is, it's out in 60 frames per second, and it's the first Xenoblade game that actually does run it in 60 frames per second, and man, from the footage I've seen from people play the game, it looks really buttery smooth. Like, I get why they couldn't do it on the original Switch 1 because it's not as powerful enough to run an RPG in 60 frames per second. Let's be real here. Unless if it's a really underpowered RPG or a RPG from like early 2000s and whatnot. But it's surprisingly decent. I really enjoy it. It's not like fully 60 FPS. It does dip in multiple areas, but in general, it's a pretty smooth sailing 60 FPS. The input lag is fixed as well. Like, if you select an art in the game and you use an art, you're actually clicking it at the right time. There's no like slowdown or anything or misinputs or just inputs that you put in like beforehand and then it takes a while to even register. No, the input lag is much more better in this version. The load times are way better. They were really good in the Switch 1 version, don't get me wrong, but in the Switch 2 version, they're much faster now. So, Pyro, I know you made a video all about the Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade X. Do you want to talk about, like, some of what you found in the game? Like, some of the things that you praised?
What the things I praised? It runs better. Cutscenes do look sharper, you know, in the increase in resolution. It does make the moment-to-moment gameplay. 60 FPS is, you know, a bit of a game changer for Xenoblade. You know, it's been something we've all been requesting for years, ever since the inklings of a Switch 2 came up into our minds.
Yeah.
And, and it performs just as you expect, and that's good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, like, especially the cutscenes. They look really smooth in general. Like, I mean, the cutscenes did look good in 30 FPS, and I wouldn't mind just the cutscenes staying at a native 30 FPS. It's a nice bonus just seeing what the cutscenes look like at 60 FPS, and it runs smoothly for the most part, like I mentioned, so. And now let's get into the negatives, which is probably what many people talked about. So, I already mentioned, like, in my previous video when Xenoblade X Switch 2 Edition released, that it was advertised as being a 4K game. That is not true in the slightest. It is not a 4K game. What it is, actually, is that it's basically upscaled and uses this what's called a subpixel morphological anti-aliasing. But it's not like the typical like SMAA that you would see in general. It's a very like, it uses like this weird AI technology that's been used like years ago for low powered systems called real-time single frame machine learning upscaling. This was talked about by Alexander Battaglia from Digital Foundry about him comparing the game to games like Hitman World of Assassination that was running on Switch 2, and it kind of looks very similar to what he saw from the build he saw there. And I can definitely agree. I mean, this AI upscaling that's used here, it looks like something you would see in like 2021, like games you would see there like on mobile platforms, or like YouTube videos back in the day trying to render videos in 4K, and it's a pretty interesting like comparison there, and I definitely believe Alex in that. So you mentioned in your video, Pyro, that the look of the visuals here, the smeary like Vaseline Van Gogh-esque visuals here, is like, I would say worse than FSR1, don't you think?
Oh yeah, FSR1 at the end of the day is just a spatial upscaler. Like, it doesn't really make the game look like an oily mess. What I saw, it just reminds me of all the stuff from 7th gen gaming. A lot of that PS3, Xbox 360 smear. That's what this Switch 2 edition reminds me of.
And it tries to render up to 4K as well, but I've heard from some content creators that it's more like 1440p, which is not a native 4K resolution. I would compare it to like Ultra HD resolution, but it looks bad because of the smeariness of the game. Like, even like visuals that you would see on characters' faces are like really bad. But it gets even worse, man. In handheld mode, I think it's unplayable, dude. Like, the visuals, like, are just smeared enough that, like, it's just hard to look at because it just, you can't really see what's going on the screen, and everything besides the UI in particular, like, it's not a good representation of what the game should look like on a 1080p handheld like that. And it just sucks because Nintendo actually released a very good update for Switch 2 last month, making any Switch 1 game gets a boost from just using handheld mode. So basically any game that it was originally in 720p gets upscaled up to its 1080p visuals. And if you just played the Switch 1 version of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, it actually looks way better than the Switch 2 edition would because of that there not being a smeary look to it. So Monolith Soft, in particular, really screwed up on this release, and because like many people play Xenoblade games in handheld mode, even like the people who played Xenoblade 2 back in the day, including myself, they played Xenoblade 2 in handheld mode, and it just, like, they were used to the visuals, but they couldn't really get used to the visuals for Xenoblade X Switch 2 edition while playing handheld mode. So you mentioned in your video about like somebody posting like a really good example of screen tearing in the opening cutscene, right?
Yeah. That there was like visible screen tearing in the cutscene in handheld mode. Just really odd.
That really sucks.
I was gonna say, not only on top of like, screen tearing, there's also weird bugs with online, like network mismatch.
Oh, yeah.
Just going on in the multiplayer modes between the Switch 1 and Switch 2 versions, and the resolution stuff. It's breaking a lot of things, and also the game looks horrible.
Yeah, it's just, there's not really good compatibility between the two, and like, there's just so much stuff wrong with this release in particular that it's just hard to like defend. Even like, I know a few people who actually do defend this game for whatever reason, like besides them being like shills for Monolith Soft in particular, but I can't get behind these visuals at all, and they must be fixed before they do like Switch 2 edition of any of the Xenoblade games in particular, because this is just downright awful. I mean, I know I said before that I praised the 60 FPS on the Xenoblade game. The UI, however, is much different. it runs still at 30 frames per second, and it's so weird just seeing it, too. Like, why is, like, the UI backgrounds and, like, the text, like, they still move at 30 frames per second, but the visuals, like walking around and just moving around is 60 frames per second. It looks really strange to me, and I don't feel... it just feels like they did a rush job on this, you know?
I feel like probably the reason why they kept everything at 30 FPS is because if you play any of the Xenoblade games at 60 on like emulators or anything, it has like double time QTE, so like everything will run faster. So instead of doing the rigorous amount of like time to recode everything for 60 FPS to make it not happen like that, they just decided to take the easy route and just keep the 30 FPS limit.
See, here's the thing though, because like, I get this is a Wii U game originally, and they had it at 30 frames per second originally. They still have the engine, they still have the source code for Xenoblade X. Why couldn't they just, like, I don't know, the wizards at Monolith, like, why can't they just, like, I don't know, make the UI a lot, like, slower so it can fit the 60 FPS? They didn't really need to go the easy route for this. Because, like, it's Monolith we're talking about here. They're technological wizards, and like I said, it just makes it so, like, cheaply made, and, like, even for $5, like, I'm talking, like, Mario Odyssey, for instance. Like, that game, did run at 60 FPS, but there were frame dips at multiple points in the game. But the Switch 2 version, like, it runs buttery smooth. Like, I'm talking, like, it goes beyond, like, any platformer, like, you would get. Like, it's such a buttery smooth 60 FPS that, like, it just makes the game just much more playable. And that upgrade was free. So, like, I get that Xenoblade X is a much bigger game, a much more bigger open world game. But Monolith needs to freaking figure themselves out regarding that. Like, you can't charge $5 and expect, like, a shoddy product in particular. And that's why Nintendo did those refunds like they did, so...
It's like a lot of the big discourse and a lot of the pushback towards the announcement initially was all because regarding the price. Like, ultimately, I think Switch 2 editions are fine. I think some of them might be a little tad overpriced, but I think they are a pretty good way to, you know, spread out their release schedule and give people, you know, owners enhanced experiences. The problem with this one, the quality is half-ass. It breaks things.
Yeah.
And you're just better off most of the time for a more consistent experience. Just play the original version.
Exactly.
It's so antithetical to what a Switch 2 edition should be.
Right.
That's the core problem.
Right, and I agree, and it just... I can't get behind that until there's a patch, and like, Monolith, we're still waiting on a patch. Don't release any more Switch 2 editions of their games until you patch Xenoblade X, okay? But that gives me into my next point, and I'm gonna get really, like, heated for this. So on Monolith website, on their Japanese website here, they show basically all their games that they develop for, including for games that are non-Nintendo, like the PS2, for instance. So, for Nintendo Switch 2, they show Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, Switch 2 Edition, and Mario Kart World. That's not a problem because they developed both games. Both studios did. The Kyoto studio developed Mario Kart World, and the Tokyo studio developed Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, including their Switch 2 edition. Pyro, do you notice something missing here?
Yeah. Where are the Switch 2 editions for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom?
Exactly. They developed those games here. See? Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild right here. And they didn't develop the Switch 2 editions for those games? Like, why the heck is it omitted? Like, we don't really know who developed them at all. I mean, Nintendo in-house probably did that because they actually had the technology. But Monolith didn't do that for those games? And I mean, they're like the best company for that because they developed those games. They made the engine for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They made the source code for it. So why wasn't Monolith a part of those? And that gets me into another point, because, like, differentiating the Tokyo studio from the Kyoto studio, which the Kyoto studio from what I'm seeing, is more like in line with Nintendo and know how to develop for their system, because Mario Kart World is a native 4K game. You already made a video talking about the Mario Kart World in depth, Pyro, so you definitely talked about its visuals. But Xenoblade X Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition is made by the Tokyo Studio, which develops the Xenoblade games. And this is where the problem comes in. Why are both studios, like, not in line with each other regarding, like, how they develop games for? Like, why is one studio more knowledgeable in 4K and 60 FPS compared to the other studio, which used outdated AI upscaling? Like, that really doesn't make any sense to me, because they should, like, talk about it with each other on what the technology they should use for their games. So, Monolith Soft, we don't know when your patch for this game is coming out, so why don't we have an answer regarding that? It just frustrates me, because they are developing Switch 2 editions for games, but we have no rhyme or reason to know if they actually are working on Xenoblade X's Switch 2 edition. It just boggles my mind that we just don't have any answers, and we still don't have a patch for the game yet. It just, I don't know, man. It just really, like, aggravates me that, like, a company that I know is good at technology, they make amazing engines, they share it all the time on social media, they even promote it for job applications and stuff like that for people who work for them, because they're at the top of the class in terms of game development. So why do they have to use an outdated technology for a game that they made in themselves in engine? It just makes no sense. Do you feel my pain, Pyro? Do you feel my absolute pain for Monolith Soft right now?
It definitely, like, a lot of the technology that they're happy to be using has to be just put it towards Project Legacy and whatever that new project is, because I can kind of sympathize, like, why there's such a crazy mismanagement here. Because, you know, why would you invest so much in a enhanced port of an outdated engine that you know you're not going to use again, instead of just pulling more resources into the current engine? Because they have an R&D division. So the R&D division is constantly making new features for the engine's feature set, so they can make the games even better, push the strengths of their consoles even further.
Yeah.
So it is so baffling to see them release it in such a state. And knowing Monolith Soft, there is a good 50-50 and get patched or not. Because for all we know, similar to how the Mio bug was not known by Monolith Soft, they might not even know this is a problem. And that is an issue.
Right, exactly. And fans have been complaining about it for months now. And, like, that's the whole entire reason why we got refunds for it. So it's just, you know, I don't want to say that Monolith Soft doesn't listen to fans, because they do. They're probably listening to videos like this one as well about the visuals. And, like, I'm sure that, like, because, like, I want Monolith Soft to listen. I want Monolith Soft to put out a statement regarding this, but it just is another reason why Xenoblade X is so cursed, man. It did not sell well on the Wii U. It did not sell well on Switch. And it's yet again not going to sell well on Switch 2. All because Monolith Soft up so badly. Like, I love Xenoblade X. It's one of my favorite open world games out there. I prefer it more to Breath of the Wild in my eyes, but I just wish they cared more about the games, and they cared more about Xenoblade X fans in particular. I don't know. I mean, I get that they're working on their next game, and don't get me wrong, it's gonna look amazing, but I don't know. They kind of half-assed this one, and Monolith Soft, Takahashi, whoever did the graphics and the AI upscaling, a poor job of the AI upscaling at your Tokyo studios. I hope you freaking release this patch before the Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade 2, please. I just want that to happen.
See, the thing is, I could see X of all this, despite it being so baffling and disappointing, I can forgive it. Say this is the testing grounds, because usually this is the same thing with how Xenoblade 2. Monolith Soft, as much as they're technologically really, really impressive when they'll get their waters out in the door, you know, for the first time. They're not usually that good.
Yeah.
Xenoblade 2 is a good example.
In the visual department.
It also came out, you know, the game was rushed, but that's also the point. Is what they sometimes kind of fumble with new technology.
Yeah.
And also, you know, deadlines. Could be a similar situation here. They maybe needed to get this thing out. Who knows? We don't know, because we don't know how long this has been finished. Because, you know, Nintendo, they literally sit on things. They just sit on things and complete it. So we don't know. So I'm willing to forgive XDE, at least in a shoddy state. Say they take the feedback. They say, no, don't do this. So for any future upgrades for the trilogy, they can go in, make sure they can make them the best they can be.
Right.
If I see this similar quality with Xenoblade 2, a game in handheld mode that already looks really bad, I'm gonna have some words.
I think a lot of people will have words, and like it will even further destroy the reputation of Xenoblade 2 even more than it is. But to think that we all thought that Monolith Software were the kings of technology, they happened to fuck one up. So let's go ahead and talk about some, I think some little bits of silly news. So Nintendo, I believe last month, it was like back in March, they released a new patent, a couple new patents for some stuff regarding, one of them is like an adapter you can use for the Switch 2 Joy-Con 2s. But the second patent, they happened to patent the quick cooldown system that was present in Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, and I mean the UI looks very similar to Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, and we see the one that's on the bottom right. So, any thoughts about this, Pyro?
Yeah, that is certainly a screenshot of a Xenoblade game in the patent.
As little stick figures.
Yeah. It's very clearly Xenoblade X's art palette with the quick recast.
Imagine Territorial Rotbart as like a little fat man with a round head. Just imagine that looks like Territorial Rotbart right there. And all four characters start to fight it. It's just, oh man, it's just. I think this is a neat thing that they did is to reference Xenoblade in general with their UI systems, because like obviously we got like the UI for like ether attacks, bullet attacks, support moves, and we have the character the HP bar on the left, the enemy HP bar on the top, and all the characters with their weapons, and we have an enemy in the middle that we fight. So yeah, that's a very, very interesting patent that Nintendo brought out. So I like to thank Nintendo for patenting the Xenoblade battle system. And nobody, not even me or you, Pyro, can even steal it from them or use it in their games. It's only Nintendo. So, but yeah. That's not a really good way to go out, man. After all the sad news regarding Xenoblade X, we had to end it off with kind of an uninteresting patent thing, sure. But I'm sure we're gonna get Xenoblade news in the future. I already made my prediction about it. If you go right here on the top right corner, you can see what the future of the Xenoblade series would be coming next year, and I fully expect Xenoblade 4 to be revealed. Xenoblade 4, I would expect probably in a later direct, personally, but I mean, hey, I'll be surprised if they show both Xenoblade 2 Switch 2 Edition and Xenoblade 4 in the next direct. But we'll be getting into more of that news coming in the next Xenoblade Xeno news segment coming in December. So, but that should be it for that. So, Pyro, where can we find you at?
Yeah, you can find me at Shifted Pyro, the YouTube channel. Shifted Pyro, the Twitter, at Shifted Pyro. And Shifted Pyro at Blue Sky Social.
Which
on Blue Sky.
Do you even use Blue Sky, dude? I don't really see you on there all that much.
I use Blue Sky from time to time.
Alright.
Sometimes.
Pyro makes amazing, well-edited content. Like, he's a god at making graphics in particular. So definitely watch his latest video on Mario Kart World if you're interested. We did talk about Mario Kart World a little bit, as well as his Xenoblade X Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition video, which basically talks about like all the stuff and problems of that game. So, and also Pyro does a lot of really long Xenoblade video essays as well, and I really liked his content. I even cameoed in a few videos as well. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching until the end. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, comment, and share this video around. Anyways, until next time, see you on the other side!